At 27, the world sees a golden buzzer winner, but behind the confetti lies a tragedy that almost broke him. From the humiliation of national failure to the lonely nights of a Glasgow waiter, discover the heartbreaking battle Matty Juniosa fought just to prove he wasn't a failure. The tragedy behind the golden rain. When the world watched Simon Cowell press the golden buzzer for Matty Juniosa, millions thought they were witnessing the beginning of a beautiful dream. However, behind the shimmer of the gold confetti covering the Britain's Got Talent 2026 stage lay a reality far more painful than viewers could imagine. Before standing under the global spotlight, Matty was a man shattered by rejection, failure, and a suffocating loneliness for years. Behind his powerful voice and sincere smile was a figure quietly fighting every day to prove he wasn't a worthless loser. Matty's tragedy wasn't a lack of talent, but rather the cruel length of time he spent waiting for validation from a world that repeatedly ignored him. That golden moment wasn't just a career start, it was a redemption for the tears shed during mental suffering that nearly destroyed him entirely before he could show who he truly was. A childhood isolated in wanderlust. Matty Juniosa's heartbreaking story actually began in his childhood, where he constantly moved across the Philippines with his family.
From Quezon to Tawi-Tawi, young Matty never had the chance to build stable friendships or feel the comfort of a permanent home. While other children were busy playing with childhood friends, Matty was always the new person, struggling to be accepted in foreign and often cold environments. His only loyal friend through every move was music, serving as both an escape and an identity he held on to amidst the uncertainty of life. However, this love for music also brought a hidden fear that he might only become an entertainer with no clear future. This childhood wandering formed an empty space in his soul, a thirst for recognition and stability that later became both the motivation and the wound underlying every high note he unleashed on stage. The open wound on the Idol Philippines 2019 stage. 2019 was supposed to be the year Matty Juniosa changed his destiny, but what happened instead was a public humiliation that left deep scars on his self-esteem. At just 20 years old, he stood on the Idol Philippines stage with sky-high hopes, only to swallow the bitter reality of being eliminated with the lowest score in the top 12. That defeat wasn't just a competition failure, it was a mass rejection of the style, personality, and art he offered to the public in his own homeland. Matty left that stage carrying an immense sense of shame, feeling he had failed embarrassingly in front of the entire nation and his family.
This rejection stayed in his head for years, creating acute insecurity regarding how others viewed him on television. He felt like a traitor to his own talent, and that feeling of not being good enough became a ghost that whispered failure every time he tried to rise and sing again. Shadows of uncertainty within the Idols group. Following the talent show failure, Matty tasted a glimmer of hope when he joined a male vocal trio called Idols alongside fellow contestants. From the outside, his career seemed to be climbing, with various television appearances and song releases that garnered attention from loyal fans in the Philippines. However, behind the scenes, Matty was still grappling with an intense internal conflict over whether he would forever be part of a group without ever standing tall as an individual. He felt his true identity was slowly eroding under industry demands for uniformity, while his soul yearned to express a solo talent that was far greater. The pressure to be successful with the group, while fearing failure on his own, created an exhausting mental tension every day. His decision to stay for 3 years in the group was actually a mental sacrifice to keep his career breathing, even though he knew his heart wasn't fully there. A tragic sacrifice, leaving everything for Glasgow. In 2022, Matty Juniosa took an action many considered career suicide. He disbanded his group and left the Philippines entirely. He chose to pursue a musical theater scholarship in Scotland, a daring move that forced him to throw away all the popularity he had painstakingly built over the years. This life change felt tragic because almost overnight, he went from a known television star to an unknown part-time waiter in Glasgow. He had to wash dishes and serve customers who cared nothing for his world-class talent, simply to survive in a cold foreign land. This transition was mentally and emotionally draining, forcing him to swallow his pride every time he put on a waiter's uniform and worked behind a restaurant table. Matty was living in two starkly contrasting worlds. By day, he learned to be a great actor, but by night, he was just an immigrant struggling hard to pay the rent. The battle against inferiority and self-rejection. During his years of study in the UK, Matty was constantly haunted by a cruel label he unilaterally gave himself: singing competition loser. Even as he continued to perform on small theater stages and upload vocal covers online, the lack of confidence he carried from the past never truly vanished. He often felt envious watching other singers rise faster than him, while he felt he was stagnant in the shadows of anonymity. This inferiority was worsened by the feeling of loneliness, being thousands of miles away from his family and support system in the Philippines.
Presenter TV host. Every time he failed a small audition or didn't get the expected response on the internet, Matty felt his destiny was indeed to always be the one who loses. However, amidst that despair, a small flame refused to die, a determination born from a very deep pain to prove that the world had made a massive mistake by underestimated his talent. Strategy born of despair on the BGT stage. Matty's decision to audition for Britain's Got Talent 2026 was not an impulsive act, but a strategy born from a desperation that had reached its peak. He approached this opportunity with great caution, studying every judge like a soldier mapping a battlefield to avoid a humiliating defeat for the second time. He chose the song Purple Rain because he knew Simon Cowell adored it, but that choice was actually a life stake for his music career. Before singing a single note, he honestly admitted his deep-seated fear to the judges, a confession that showed how shattered his self-confidence had been. Matty wasn't acting, he was baring his soul before the world, showing the fragility of a man who had been repeatedly crushed by the entertainment industry system. That performance was a final cry for help from an artist who was at the limit of his patience to be accepted by the world. Physical transformation, the secret war against insecurity. One thing rarely known by many is that Matty's biggest war happened in front of the mirror, long before he faced the judges in London.
In 2016, he experienced the darkest period of his life, where his weight reached 240 pounds, drastically destroying his physical health and self-esteem. This weight issue wasn't just about appearance, but a physical manifestation of the depression and insecurity he felt from various personal failures and broken relationships. Matty had to fight for years with very harsh discipline to change his lifestyle and regain control over his own body. This physical transformation process was a bloody battle against desire and self-hatred, conducted without any camera spotlight. When he stepped onto the BGT stage with his new look, he didn't just bring a great voice. He brought a body that was the result of a victory over the depression that almost claimed his life. The heavy burden of exploding instant popularity. After the golden buzzer moment aired, Matty's life changed dramatically overnight, yet that brought a new kind of suffocating pressure. He was now the center of global attention, where every move was watched by millions holding extremely high expectations for his next performance. Shadows of his idol Philippines failure resurfaced, but this time on a much larger and more terrifying scale for his mental health. Matty felt he couldn't make a single small mistake, because if he failed this time, the world would confirm he was indeed just a one-night wonder.
This fear kept him awake at night, doubting whether he truly deserved all this attention or if it was all just a moment of luck. This instant popularity was like a double-edged sword. On one hand, he gained validation, but on the other, he felt like he was standing on a glass bridge that could shatter at any time if he wasn't careful in his steps. Turning failure into an eternal legend. What makes Matty Juniosa's story so poignant isn't his current success, but the fact that he refused to give up even when the world repeatedly told him no. His journey is living proof that true success is often built on the ruins of very tragic and painful failures. Matty has taught millions that being a loser in one place doesn't mean you are a loser forever. as long as you dare to find the right stage. At 27, he has passed through storms that might have destroyed others, yet he returned with a much stronger voice and a much more mature soul. His story is no longer just about winning a singing competition, but about the victory of the human spirit over the darkest despair. Matty Juniosa now stands as a beacon for all who feel invisible, proving that one golden moment can erase years of suffering if we have the courage to endure until the end. The world is now not only listening to his voice, but learning from his extraordinary fortitude.